It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of February 12th, 1999. President's Day weekend, Valentine's Day weekend, whatever weekend you want to call it. It was a big weekend for movies. Most notably the three that we're going to be talking about today, because most of them were decent hits and films that are well known to most people. So this should be a pretty interesting episode to talk about. So let's just dive on into it. We'll start off with the biggest release of the weekend, and that is Kevin Costner and Robert Wright Penn and Paul Newman in Message in a Bottle. So you could probably tell this is based off of a Nicholas Sparks book, and believe it or not, this is actually the first movie based off of one of Nicholas Sparks' novels. Actually, his second novel overall. The first is The Notebook, and that would eventually be made into its own movie 5 years down the road. But this is the first one based off of his stories. It stars Kevin Costner, Robin Wright Penn, and Paul Newman. You can pretty much tell what the plot is basically on that trailer. A writer, played by Robin Wright Penn, falls in love with a shipbuilder, played by Kevin Costner, after finding a letter inside the bottle. And Paul Newman is playing Kevin Costner's father in here. This director is Louise Mandelsky, who has directed some movies we've talked about. White Palace, which is a mixed bag film overall. Born Yesterday, which is kind of a mediocre film. When a Man Loves a Woman, probably his best film overall. This is actually a film that was rewritten by I think this was rewritten by no, I don't think it was rewritten by anybody. I thought I read somewhere that this was rewritten by somebody else, but no, this was written by Gerald DePago, who also is known for, if I can get the, he also wrote Phenomenon. He wrote Sharky's Machine. He also wrote another Louise Mandelsky film, Angel Eyes, which came out after this. Of the movies I see on here, probably Phenomenon, maybe his best movie overall. I don't know. I haven't seen Sharky's Machine, but I hear that's a great Burt Reynolds film. But, I mean, really, you could pretty much tell what this is. This is basically what most Nicholas Sparks stories are like. You have a couple that eventually falls in love with each other. They go through the trials and tribulations before they can finally get together for reals this time at the end. And later on down the road, this is a formula that Nicholas Sparks has made popular for so many years. I mean, The Notebook was probably the centerpiece, the full-on centerpiece of when this actually was at its peak and then after that, it's basically the same thing that The Notebook was trying to do. Nights of Rodanthe is the same thing. Dear John's the same thing. Last Song, Lucky One, Safe Haven, The Best of Me, The Longest Ride, The Choice, even A Walk to Remember that came after this particular film. All have pretty much the same premise to them. It's not really all that enjoyable unless you actually really like these books, which I do not, but I just thought the movie was just passable. I mean, Kevin Costner and Robert Wright Penn, they're not a bad couple. They play their parts very well here. I mean, Paul Newman gives it his all in this movie. He'll usually give his all in a film like this, but I mean, everybody's doing just what they need to do. The story is nothing that spectacular. It's nothing really all that interesting overall in terms of the film itself. It doesn't break any new grounds. It's not anything too spectacular or too intriguing. It's just there. It's there to be a movie to open on Valentine's Day weekend, so we can get the couples together, go out to the movies, and then never talk about this movie ever again. Because, as far as I know, nobody really remembers this movie all that much, even though it was a big box office hit when it came out. But yeah, it's an okay film, but it's one that I really would never want to watch again. At a one-time watch, it's fine for what it is, but there are so many other better romantic comedy dramas like this you can watch that are so much better. And go watch The Notebook. The Notebook is at least a way better adaptation of Nicholas Sparks' works than something like this is. So, anyway, that's Message in a Bottle. Now let's get to, I would say maybe good stuff, but stuff that is much more surprising than you might think it is. Here's My Favorite Martian. We kind of talked about where Disney's live-action department was at this point. Most of their movies ended up not being all that great. They were movies that really felt like they were trying to appeal to what the kids liked not at that point. So, not surprisingly, that trailer looked really, really bad. I mean, this trailer looked so bad that you thought there was no way that this movie was going to be good whatsoever. I mean, it did not look like anything that special, anything that interesting. And then the movie comes out, and then you finally get to see it like I did, and I'm coming out of it going like, yeah, I'd say it's much better than I thought it was going to be, but yeah, it's much better than I thought it was going to be. Not to say it's a great movie per se, but there is a lot more effort being put into this than I think a lot of people would give it credit for. this is basically based off of a television series of the same name. You have a story where you have this news reporter played, this news producer played by Jeff Daniels, who gets fired for helping this reporter played by Elizabeth Hurley. He basically, as he's driving one night, he finds a small spacecraft where he finds Christopher Lloyd as this Martian, and he thinks that this is his ticket to get his job back. And you also have Daryl Hannah in here, as well as Wallace Shawn, Wayne Knight, and Ray Walston, who was in the original My Favorite Martian TV series. And really, when I came out of this movie watching it, I was kind of like, that's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So I actually looked at who put this together. This is directed by the same guy that did Richie Rich, and I actually really liked Richie Rich, and you could definitely tell that he tried his best to actually make something fun with this. And also, the writers of this are Sherry Stoner and Deanna Oliver, who not only wrote Casper, but they were two of the big pieces for shows like Tiny Toon Adventures, Animaniacs. You know, they wrote these shows that I grew up with, and they really did put a lot of effort into this, and I thought they would have. I mean, yeah, you still got those moments in there that seem, it's basically the generic family film, but then there are times when it actually is very clever. It's actually very smart. Sometimes there are some pretty funny moments. Like, of all the things I thought was going to be really funny about this movie, Martin's spacesuit, voiced by Wayne Knight, surprisingly had some of the best moments of the film. And it's weird, like, because right around the time we had Third Rock from the Sun, and you can definitely tell that there was a little bit of an inspiration taken from Third Rock from the Sun when they were making this movie. I mean, it's a lot more creative, it's a lot more intriguing. Some of the visuals really do look pretty amazing for a film like this. I mean, you know what kind of reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of the film that Disney had done before this, My G. Joe Young, a film that had a trailer that was not really all that great. It really wasn't all that. It looked like a generic family film, but it actually turned out to be a whole lot better than you would give it a lot of credit for. But Mighty Joe Young, I think, is a far superior film. I would put this as a passable movie. I'd say for a one-time watch, I mean, it's perfectly fine for what it is. You definitely get what you want. Christopher Lloyd, Jeff Daniels working off each other. Some really cool visuals overall. You can definitely tell the inspirations for not only Third Rock from the Sun, but also a little bit of Men in Black in there. I mean, it kind of feels like they're trying to do something like a Disney equivalent to Men in Black, and for what they did a pretty good job with it overall. It's a film that I would say is not terrible. It's not even that great. It's definitely something that, for a one-time watch, I think you get most of your money's worth from it. I don't know if you'd ever want to watch it again, honestly, but I will say it's a lot better than I think those trailers really let on. They actually did put effort into this film, and it definitely shows on here. I think they did a better job than they could have done possibly with this. I would say give it a one-time watch, and I don't know, maybe you probably would never want to watch it again after that, but it certainly is a lot better than I think that trailer was letting on. I mean, I could definitely say that for certain. So, that's My Favorite Martian. So let's get to the last film we have here, and that is Blast from the Past. Yeah, Brendan Fraser calling a black person a Negro probably is not going to hold up very well nowadays. And in fact, when I actually went to the Wikipedia page on this under Legacy, that's literally the one thing that people took away from this movie. It literally says the movie gained notoriety on social media from a scene where Brendan Fraser calls that character Adam says, "Oh, my lucky star is a Negro." And you know, like I said, like I always say, it's a different time period, but man, nowadays that would not fly now. But this movie actually is a lot. It's a lot better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. You have Brendan Fraser as this guy who was born and brought up in a Cold War era fallout shelter built by his father, played by Christopher Nolan. That would have been a more interesting film. Christopher Walken, who's a survivalist, anti-communist father, and after 35 years, he emerges into the modern world where his innocence and old-fashioned views puts him at comedic odds with others. So it's a fish-out-of-water story that definitely takes a lot of inspiration from two of the films that came out in the year before, New Line's own Pleasantville, as well as The Truman Show. And it's a really enjoyable film. This is directed by the same person that did The First Wives Club, and I really like The First Wives Club a lot. And for Alicia Silverstone, it was a nice comeback after what happened in '97 when she had the double whammy of Excess Baggage and also Batman and Robin. This is a nice return to form for her. You also have Dave Foley in here, and I think the comedy overall works very well. It is not a groundbreaking story in any means necessary, but it is a lighthearted romantic comedy that I think works very well. I think I think Brendan Fraser and Alicia Silverstone has a lot of great chemistry together. Christopher Walken and Sissy Spacek are very good. Dave Foley has a nice funny role in here. I thought the film overall was a lot better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. It does have a lot of elements that I think are very, very funny. I think it is very enjoyable. I like Brendan Fraser and Alicia Silverstone a lot. I think they have great chemistry together. I like the concept overall. It is a lighthearted romantic comedy that's mixed with a little bit of a sci-fi edge to it. I thought it was a ton of fun. I thought it was a very enjoyable film. I'd say definitely check it out if you haven't seen it already. I think it is a very fun film overall. It's worth a watch. So with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time, we'll take a look at 4 more movies, including Jake Gyllenhaal and October Sky. We also have Mike Judge's Office Space, Julie Benz and Jawbreaker, along with Rose McGowan, and also The Apple. So 4 films we'll look at next time. We'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.